Tomorrow evening, and a good prelude is that we were just talking about alley cropping and things like that, and I'll let Dan tell you about what they've been doing here for the last 30 years. So,
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Gee, I got the lights all up. Hope y'all don't fall asleep on me, really, because it really makes me feel bad, especially after eating lunch. So if you would stay awake, I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, holler at me, and I'll try and answer the best I can. A little bit about Shepherd Farms. We're up to about 3,500 acres. I have 2 employees and my wife. My wife takes care of all the books and all that sort of stuff and runs the office, and we have a store on the farm, and she takes care of all that stuff too. And pretty well 2 employees. On the whole deal though, we mainly run corn, beans, and wheat, and hay are our main crops besides the pecans. And over the years, the whole farm got started mainly for pecans. In the late 60s, my father was from, actually grew up in southern Arkansas, central Arkansas, where pecan trees were really, everybody had them in their yards and this, that, and the other. He moved up to northern Missouri and was shocked to find pecans growing this far north. And he always kind of wanted to be a farmer, and he always wanted to own a little pecan orchard, so he bought 20 acres of ground next to the river at home, Lee's Fork of the Sheridan River. And I remember I was about 10, 11, 12 years old, and I walk up, and he takes us out, my brother, my mom, and us, and show us this 20 acres he bought. Didn't pay anything for it back then. And I walk up on top of the levee, and I look out to the north. And there was this great big old open space out there, and I said, gee, Pop, you ought to buy this place. I said, think of all the pecan trees you could plant out here on that deal. He says, well, he said, it is for sale. And sure enough, about a year or 2 later, we ended up bought that and bought about 1,700 acres. So needless to say, the 20 acres that we bought to put pecans on really never got pecans put on it, because that turned into a levee system and everything else, and they're there. But anyway, it all started with 20 acres on the farm. And like I say, our main businesses right now are strictly pecans and the row crop, which I don't do the row crop anymore. I've got a major problem with row cropping. Number one thing is I'm too big to be a small farmer and too small to be a big farmer. You know, we got 2,500 acres in row crop, you know, a couple thousand acres of beans, whatever. I don't do the farming. I'm not big enough. I figure I need 5,000 acres. And I'm too big to be a small farmer. If I had 200 or 300 acres, yeah, I could probably handle it, no big problem. So I'm kind of right in the middle, so I have a great renter. We rent the ground out on a share basis, so when I have a good crop and good prices, I make good money. When things aren't so good, I still make all right, come out a little better. We have a great relationship. But you say, hey, he's got 2 employees. Well, we own 300 acres of pecan orchards also. Now, if you think that's not a whole lot, really, it's a lot of work. 300 acres is a lot of work. There's something to do year-round in that pecan orchard, and we definitely do that. Plus upkeep on another 1,000 acres besides the row crop. We got 10-mile private levee on the farm. We keep up, do a lot of mowing, keep the highway right-of-ways mowed. We adopt the highways, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're kind of a very highly visible farm, and so we try and keep it as neat and nice as we can. Before we got into this really big operation, we had, strictly down just the pecans, we were in three businesses. One was the buffalo business. A number of years ago, when we first bought the farm, we needed a livestock enterprise for the farm. So we went out to South Dakota and we could go out and buy 8 or 10 head of buffalo. Well, that day it was 26 below zero was the high of the day. The sale was outside, and man, I tell you, it's even cold for people in South Dakota. And we ended up bought 56 head, so we kind of got in the buffalo business pretty big to start off with. At one time, we had up to 900 head of buffalo on the farm. Plus that, we were in the eastern gamagrass seed business. In the buffalo business and a lot of bottomland, we had a lot of pastures and stuff down the bottoms. And in 1980, we've happened to find a nice plant growing in the road bank in the dangest drought you ever saw. Come to find out, it was eastern gamagrass we came to find. the nice thing about it was that it does real well in the bottomland. It's one of the native prairie grasses. And the main problem is it's highly palatable and animals try to eat it out to kill it out. It's one of the native, like I say, tall grass prairie grasses. The problem with it was that you never could get it to sprout. It was hard to harvest seed, this, that, and the other. But we thought, hey, we got bottom ground that'll work. Maybe we ought to try some of it. So we did. Got a hold of some people that knew about it, knew how what we could do to get some of it started and how we could get some seed. From Soil Conservation Service, NRCS, believe it or not, back then gave us our first seed twice, and we appreciated that from them. We got some growing, learned how to combine it. It has to go through a wet chill period, stratification to get it to sprout and stuff. But anyway, the first day, for about the first year we combined a bunch of seed, I had 500 pounds of seed sitting in my shop. And we were sitting in the shop drinking beer, me and a couple of buddies, and a guy comes in about 7 o'clock one night, and he says, I hear you got some Eastern Gamma Grass seed. Would you sell some? I said, oh, I don't know. I said, I'd say a couple 100 pounds. He said, well, how much? I said, $20 a pound. He just pulled his billfold out and wrote me a check and handed it to me. He says, you sure don't want to sell the rest of it? I said, no, I better not. My dad will kill me. So we loaded the seed up, and I called my dad, and I said, Dad, hey, just sold 200 pounds of Gamma Grass seed. Oh, my God, I tell you, you could hold the phone out here. Well, what'd you get for it? I said, $20 a pound. He said, oh. Maybe we ought to get in the seed business. We had a nice conference the next day and a nice meeting in town, and we decided, hey, we ought to get in the seed business. So that's what we did. We were in the Gamma Grass seed business for many, many years. Absolutely just got burned out on it. We made a lot of nice money, paid the farm off, paid for a lot of the equipment off, paid for some nice buildings and stuff, but we finally got out of that thanks to a flood, so they got out of that deal. But all that kind of working through is what I'm trying to explain to you with the buffalo and with the Gamma Grass and pecans. It all made the farm work for us because we were busy every month out of the year we had a busy time where we didn't have a slow time. So, and that's what the nice thing about this agroforestry deal is that we were doing pecans also and getting some return off that ground is what the main thing was, is to help produce that. We first started farming between the trees, and somebody down here, I think, came up with this wonderful name, agroforestry. Now, we always just called it farming between the trees, and I mean, geez, but then but we had buffalo, and, we just said, raising buffalo, right? Shit, no. Nope. Alternative livestock. I love all these names. Anyway, we planted our first really main orchard in 1971, and we laid it all out and squared, and it was on a piece of levee, this ground on the outside of the levee right along the highway. And that was our experimental orchard because we were going to put in another 200 acres in pretty quick, and we needed to figure out what we were going to graft to. Now, this is before really anybody in the pecan business knew anything, especially up north, what we could raise up this far. And my dad spent many Saturdays and Sundays in the fall going around all over northern Missouri and central Missouri and Iowa and Illinois and Kansas and trying to find the perfect pecans and stuff that would grow and do this up here. And so we grafted a whole bunch of different varieties, about 42 different varieties, trying to find out which ones worked the best for us. So we finally decided, okay, we're ready. We got to plant our trees. If we're going to get an orchard growing, my dad was getting older, and he said, you're getting older too, Dan, so we need to get these things planted. So I had a nice, beautiful 180-acre wheat field right along the highway down the bottom. And in 10 days, we set 10,000 white flags. Now, that's a lot of work. And the rows are 40 feet apart, and every 15 foot down the row, there was a white flag. And I mean, you could take a .22 and shoot 3/4 of a mile down the row and hit every flag. It was that straight. Man, you talk about the phone ringing. What the hell's going on? It's a housing settlement division. We're going to put in a housing division. Well, now that's down the bottom. That's not going to work, this, that, and the other. All right, we're building a landing strip for the Argentine Air Force. Because this was in '81. This is when Britain and Argentina were playing with their new war toys that they didn't get to try out. They finally got to try it out on each other, Those Exocet missiles are hell on British ships, I found out, too. Anyway, we were here. They were building a runway for the Argentine airplanes to come in and refuel and stop over on the way to bomb the Queen. Well, People didn't really believe that either. I did have a gentleman who worked for me, a young kid with me, and he took a 4x8 sheet of plywood and painted it all black, solid black. So what the heck are you gonna do with that, Slick? That's what I call him. Oh, never mind. Next day, he was out there with his paintbrush and a can of white paint, and he wrote on that thing, Flag Farm. Took that thing and set it right on the highway on the levee where everybody was driving up down the highway, because everybody's looking at damn things anyway. And I said, that's a flag farm. Holy smokes, from 10 calls a day to 50 calls a day. What the hell's a flag farm? I said, hey, we're raising flags. I said, have you got any spare rusty nails, nuts, bolts? I said, we're fertilizing. We figure we can get at least 12 flags per every one we plant. Could you help me out? And I actually had, I think some people believe me. God's truth. But anyway, till to this day, it's the flag farm. And that's where we're going to go see tomorrow, up on top of the hill and stuff. We farmed, like I said, the wheat, planted the wheat. We sprayed the strips right down through there, raised the wheat. Good. Next year, soybeans. Good. Next year, soybeans. Good. Next year, wheat. Good. All right, we'll try some corn. Hey, that worked. All right. It kept on. And of course, this was back in the 80s, in the fairly early 80s, so we were still farming with 12-row equipment, 10-row equipment, 6-row equipment stuff. We started out and we farmed that for 17 years of row crops. Finally, it just got too big, the trees got so big that we were down to 6 rows now. And to farm 6 rows and to take care of the chemical for 6 rows and fertilizing for 6 rows really didn't work out very well. 40-foot wide trees, only 6 rows in the middle farming. So the rest of it, the trees were just taking too much crop away from us, and besides, it was hurting the trees too. So we decided then it was time to quit and put it to grass. Well, what do you seed an orchard with, especially down the bottom? Bluegrass. No, not eastern gamma grass. You can't put eastern gamma grass in an orchard. Way too deep root system, too clumpy, too rough. You couldn't pick a nut up if you wanted to. Anyway, no more. Bluegrass. Bluegrass works beautiful. Makes a nice carpet out there. It really shallow rooted, so when it gets dry like it is at home right now, it all turns brown. Doesn't take a lot of stuff out there. It gives us a nice surface to pick up. And we bale it for hay, and I tell you what, it's some of the best and most beautiful hay you ever saw, and very highly in demand for horse people and people weaning calves. So anyway, we seeded it all down to bluegrass and cut hay off of it for many, many years, until up to about 2 years ago. In the last 2 years we didn't. The trees were getting big enough, we just kept it mowed, and look at this. This year, we put a lot of fertilizer on last fall, we put a lot of fertilizer on this spring, and then all the rain, it's so late. We ended up having a lot of other grass and weeds, and it got up so tall that we ended up having to go ahead and cut it for hay again. And we've sold half the hay off of it already anyway. So it pays to get rid of that and stuff. And so we utilized some fertilizer that was going into the grass and stuff, so that way. So yeah, we are still an agroforestry part of that one. That's only 180, 200 acre orchard we have there. We have 2 or 3 others. We have a little CRP, tree CRP that has pecans in it. They'll be coming out real soon. And then we also have 2 other orchards that are very young, and they're strictly bluegrass now. And they're anywhere from, I think, 7 years old or 5 years old to 3 years old. So, and they're trees like this to like this. Something like I say we could always do out there to keep my guys busy and stuff. Some of the problems we had on doing 180 acre agroforestry all at once, you realize how much work there is to do to plant 180 acres of nuts? We got every lady in town with a spade and had them out there sticking nuts, stratified nuts in the ground just as they were sprouting. That's 10,000 nuts, and we put 2 at every bunch. That's 20,000 nuts we planted out there, the gals planted and stuff. Well, they come up, then you got to spray around the damn things. Every one of them, and every one of them's real small when they first come, so it takes a lot longer to spray around them. Then comes the grafting part of it. And then we graft every other tree, because we're only wanting a 40 by 30 spacing. So sometimes we have a missing spot, so we have 2 trees grafted and everything else side by side. Try to go out and graft 6,000 trees in a year. You know, we can get 1,500 trees done. We feel we're pretty lucky. But to do 6,000 is just too much. We'd been a lot better if we'd done 20 acres every year and done it that way. But, hey, nobody was there to tell us that stuff. We'd have been a lot better off if we'd have checked those trees also. Or we could have farmed it this way, or we could have farmed it that way, or we could have farmed it this way. Because when you farm for 20 years or 30 years in one direction, you screw up the drainage really bad. So there's always that, you know, I don't care how good a farmer you are, you're going to mess up the drainage. So, you know, we made some mistakes, and there wasn't anybody out there to tell me this. So I'm kind of telling you now, if you're going to put a deal in, check your trees. It's not that hard to do. It's really easy. I learned that pretty quick. You know, the level, you don't have to have a transit. Just use the level, just get a straight line, and then across in the middle, and take some wires, and away you go. And it really looks nice, and you'll see some of the newer ones and stuff. We do it that way, especially now when we're spraying. The wind's just right. We can spray, you know, this way instead of this way. So a lot of different ways. Where they're just strictly one row, one way, doesn't work very good. We put our rows at 40 feet apart. Well, why do we put them at 40 feet apart? Well, that's what a fertilizer buggy spread back then. That's how we fertilize the orchard with fertilizer buggies. Well, every 40 feet, you know, drive back and forth. But who was to know that they make the fertilizer buggies now at 50 feet? You know? What do? Well, you slow her down a little bit, you know, the PTO down a little bit so it doesn't throw it quite so far. Or so you can still find a 40 foot every once in a great while, spread fertilizer buggy, which also helps out too. We were also in some of the other stuff. We had some spots out there that didn't have too many nuts, and my dad loved a lot of other things. He loved pecans especially, but he loved black walnuts, and I like to eat black walnuts. So he decided we'd plant a bunch of black walnuts scattered in amongst the pecans too, where we had an empty spot. And I guess we had, in that orchard down there, I guess we probably had 350 grafted black walnuts in there of softball or McKay, I don't know, a whole bunch of different varieties. And they were producing, they were really nice. They produced a lot of walnuts and everything else. God dang, this mess we ever got into. Number one thing is that the spray schedule, the walnut caterpillars really worked on the walnuts and tend to move into pecans. To harvest, when you're harvesting pecans and you're next to a walnut tree and all you start picking up walnuts too, that's all the crap you got to pull off the line. The problem with the walnuts is that we never really could figure out how to make any money off of them. Because really the only place they had to sell them was a place down here in Stockton. And when everybody's got walnuts, they pay you 10 cents a pound, even if they're good ones. I mean, and what I figured it cost me to pick them up and stuff, I'm better off for a pecan tree there. So we thought, well, there's timber value, but there's not, because when they were grafted, they were all grafted up about this high or so. And now there's a gnarly knot right there, so there's no timber value to speak of in that tree. So with a heavy heart, one day I told the guys, all right, cut every walnut down out in that orchard. And we went and set some new trees in there and some new pecans and stuff, and we're starting to do that now. I know Mike likes to talk walnuts and everything else, but they just really didn't work for us out there very well for us for some reason. Also, Dad found out he loved heart nuts. You familiar with a heart nut? It's a Japanese-shaped little heart, really, really beautiful little nut. Got a really good flavor, kind of a mild black walnut flavor, really nice. We planted a bunch of those, 10 acres of those. As of this year, and we had them 40-foot rows and had them about 20 feet apart down the rows. And they've been growing for 20 years, and we've gotten some heart nuts off of them. But we've had 2 droughts in a row last year, and a frost and a freeze, Easter freeze. And I'd probably say I have 1% of the heart nuts left. They've all died. So they're in the process of being taken out and gone over. I don't really know what we're going to do with it right now. We're planting sunflowers in there right now and shooting dove off of it and have a dove hunt every year. So, I mean, it's not too bad a deal either. Pretty good off that. My father also loved hicons. Anybody know what a hicon is? All right. Anybody like hicons? Yeah, okay. You're too young to like hicons, people. Oh, people like hicons. Anyway, it's a natural cross between a pecan and a hickory. And those things were really nice. If you grew up eating hickory nuts, you love them. If you didn't grow up eating hickory nuts, you ain't worth a damn. Number two thing is they're really hard shell, and boy, I tell you what, when you put those things in a $25,000 pecan cracker, and you hear that thing smack, and it busts that shell, you think, gee, the metal parts falling out of that thing, you know? Well, all right, no, we're okay. The problem with the Hickon is they don't really bear a tremendous amount of nuts. Number two thing is that they have a completely different spray schedule. The pecan weevil and hickory chuckworm and everything else, hickory weevil, all hit about a week or two before the regular pecan. So I had to go through the orchard and do a separate spray schedule for them, which really didn't work out. Most of the people that grew up eating hickory nuts were starting to die off. So my market was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And really we didn't, about the time they really take a long time to produce. So about the time they started producing, and my father had already passed away, I said, well, he ain't around here no more. Those puppies are coming out too. Chainsaw boys, Luckily with those things, those were grafted onto a pecan. So the sprouts came back up and we were able to graft a new pecan variety on one of those sprouts and stuff. Now, you'll see a whole bunch of that tomorrow, and we'll go over that. And people think I'm crazy, and you'll lose 10% or 15%. Hell with it, I don't care. Hell, if I could lose 20%, I'll still do it. To upgrade my orchard to some different nuts and stuff. All that comes down to is really, I'm in it for the money. I'll be truthful with you. I mean, I'm in the pecan business for the money. It gives me something to do, but if I can't make money in the pecan business, I don't want to be in it. If I can't make money in the Hickon business, you saw what I did to them puppies and the walnuts. Cut them off. Pecan trees the same way. We've always had a few sayings that my father had, and I'll go over with three of them. Number one is the most successful people in the world are salesmen. Think about that. Who's the most successful person you can think of in the world besides me? I mean, come on. Bill Gates, right? A geek, computer geek, right? Hell, he did the best sales jobs to IBM to get his operating system on their computers you ever saw. His operation system sucked, but he was a great salesman. Sam on whatever else. I had a researcher one time. Dan, I consider myself successful, but I'm not a salesman. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. How do you get your money to do what you do? Well, I go out there and give my ideas and stuff and to people, and then I get grant. Oh, okay, hey, you're selling your ideas and selling yourself, right? Well, yes, perfect salesman. Hey, you're a success. So that's kind of one thing my father probably drilled into me. If you really want to be, try and do the sales part of it. It's really good. That's when we have the store on the farm and stuff. I'll go over that in just a minute. Number two thing is, he always said, he says, we can always stand to make a little money doing what everybody else does. But we stand to make a lot more doing what nobody else is doing. That's the reason we're in the buffalo business. Hey, we could set our own price. We're in the gamma grass seed business. We can set our own price. We're in the retail pecan business. We can pretty well set our own price. We can guarantee ourselves a little extra money. We don't really need to take the flow of the markets. Hey, for somebody sitting in Chicago, tell me what my crops, what my buffalo meat's worth, or my gamma grass seed's worth, or my pecans worth. But anyway, that's it. And the other thing he always said too was, only old men plant trees. Think of that. Only old men plant trees. It's not necessarily true. I planted a shit potload of trees in my life, people, when I was young. But I had an old man out there kicking my butt, making me do it. So, yeah, that's one of those things, too. Those are the three things I think, my father, and I think the best one was only old men plant trees. I think that was really always true. And if you're going to go pedal agroforestry, it's the old guys that are probably going to be planting the trees. The young guys are not going to be doing it. Who wants to sit here and look at 20 years by the time I plant a tree or plant a nut till I get something off of it, a harvest production off of it? 20 years, I'm looking at a pecan. 15, I'll get a harvest of some production. 20, harvestable production. 25 years, full production is what I figure. I'm 58 years old right now. I'm still planting a few pecan orchards. I'm about done. I got to figure another 20 years, I'll be 78. The 25, I'll be 83, 82. Nah, I'm done now. I think this will be all I'm going to do. So that's that and the other. How we market our stuff. We have a store on the farm. We got a great big sign on the highway that says Shepherd's Pecan Valley. Pecans, and it did say buffalo meat below. We had the store open 7 days a week, pretty well, 51 weeks a year. My wife and I'd sneak off for a week and go somewhere scuba diving in the Caribbean or way off somewhere warm in the wintertime for a week, get out of here. But we had the store open. We were selling buffalo meat. Well, while you're selling buffalo meat, you might as well sell pecans in the off season. And in pecan season, we're selling pecans, and we might as well peddle buffalo meat, plus jams and jellies and cookbooks and mixed nuts and all that kind of stuff. And the people buy it, and I don't know why, but they do buy it, and luckily we do, and it kind of helps keep the price going. So a lot of times really didn't pay us to be open, especially in the wintertime and stuff. January, February, March, pretty well, nasty weather snowed in. The phone's ringing off the hook on the gamma grass. So I got to be sitting there at the office anyway. And if I can sell somebody a $10 bag of pecans, hey, babe, you know, I'm sitting there, I might as well do it. So that's what happens. We do, like I say, all our own processing, our cleaning. We harvest them, we process them. We do what we call blown pecan. You'll see that tomorrow, kind of maybe how we can handle it. We do that. Then also we'll do a completely shelled out nut meat system and everything else. So on our pecan system. We retail almost all of them out of the store right there. I do have a few people come in, you know, buy 100, 200 bags here. They take them up to Iowa and put them in their little store. We do have a few grocery stores we deal with. But I like to have 1,000 little customers, or 150 or 200 or 500 little customers than 1 or 2 big customers. You know, and that's kind of what we've always done. I don't want to be squeezed out of business and stuff and that sort of thing. I see we're getting close to time, about 1 o'clock. Questions?
What are you seeing as a price differential wholesale to retail for pecans?
You mean
Were you to wholesale your nuts on the wholesale market?
Okay, you're talking about whole nuts or processed, cracked or blown? Okay. Right now, wholesale, last year wholesale pecan prices for the natives around home got down to 40 cents a pound. Total for the little natives. Last year I did not have a pecan crop, a very, very small pecan crop. I didn't open my store last year. Actually, we had 2 droughts in a row back to back. Year before last drought was a lot worse than last year's drought at home. I had a pretty fair nuts crop set on last year, but with being the droughts before, absolutely used all the nutrients, root reserves to try to do that, and most of the nuts were too small that I didn't really want to sell retail. What I did is I went ahead and we shelled them out and put them in the freezer. We kept our better sized nuts and everything else and put them in the freezer. So I'll be opened up 1st of October, and then that'll carry me through till we start harvesting this year, which is about the latter part of October. And we'll finish those up clear through December and be done with it. If I run out of nuts in the 10th of December, I shut my door. I learned a long time ago in the sweet corn business, when I had sweet corn, I had it 2 days, 3 days a year. Sell it all, get done with it, and be done with it, and let's go. You tend to tell people when they're ready to come get them, they come get them, instead of dragging out all year long. So that's one of those things. If I was retailing my pecans, those same pecans would be bringing about $3 a pound when I retail them out. Last year before last, pecans were $3.50 a pound, and I was retailing them for $3. Now that doesn't make sense, does it? I was selling them less than what the wholesale was. For what I could have got selling the whole nuts to a big sheller in Texas or Oklahoma. But that's one customer. I want 500 customers. And I can't tell these people, hey, I'm sorry, I got to charge you $5.50 a pound for them. And they say, well, I can't afford that. I said, I know, it's too much. So I keep my price the same. Maybe raise it a quarter cents a pound, 10 cents a pound, whatever, on a bag of processed pecans. Just a little bit. But that way, but they'll be back next year, and the year after, and the year after. And when they have that huge crop, and the retail wholesale price is 80 cents or 50 cents, they're going to be there and I'm still selling them for $3 a pound. That's how I work it. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Pretty good, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You do internet sales or just off the farm then?
We do a lot of shipping. We do have an internet website and page. We do not take orders off the internet. I do take credit cards and stuff and all that crap, and it works good. The problem with it is that if you're in Maine and want me to ship you 10 pounds of pecans, I'm gonna have to charge you probably $14 to ship them up there. And I got some little old lady in Iowa that wants 10 pounds of pecans, it's gonna cost her $5 to ship them. That's what gets me. And I don't feel like charging the same shipping for everybody, so we just do each one separate. It's not that hard to do. We tack on $1.50 for the box and tape and labor doing it. Whatever the UPS charge is plus $1.50, and that covers our cost. So that's how we do it. Internet sales, I mean, everybody's trying to sell them that way. Yeah, you know. But you get a customer base built up and you know. Well, we always come, but my husband can't drive anymore. They say, yeah.
So you're selling any nuts on August 6th this year?
I've got shelled out nut meats. I got them two ways. I got them in a 3-pound bag for $20, or I got new item, new process. We put them in a freezer container, 2 pounds per container. Freezer, you know, square, stacks real nice. And we got those, and they'll be $15 for a 2-pound. But it's reusable, reclosable lid and all that stuff. So it's really nice. I think that's what I'm gonna set it for. I haven't set, but that'll be it. So if you want some of those, we'll have those if available tomorrow afternoon. Remind me, Jan, I'll get some out of the freezer. Okay, anybody else question? You're first.
I was wondering a little bit more about when you were raising the bison.
Yeah.
Did you integrate that with any of your other crops, or were you basically raising them all on pasture and winter feed and that?
We were raising them on pasture. We were pasturing our older gamma grass seed fields. We turned them into pastures for buffalo. We didn't pasture any livestock in the pecan orchards. One reason is the younger trees, the buffalo bulls and the cows, they love to rub on everything else, and they'd rub the bark off of them and rub them down. That's a lot of fencing, and that's expensive fencing for buffalo. Number 2 thing is, excuse my English, but cow shit is like glue on a pecan, and ain't no way to get it off. And I think the new rules coming down, they're probably not even going to be able to pasture in a pecan orchard, maybe, what they're talking. So, and I never did like to do that. Number 3 thing is that if they're in the bottom, it's a little damp, and they make a pock mark with their hoof, you're not going to be able to get the pecans out of there, because all the pecans are, you know, as the sweeper rolls along, you know, they'll get in there and they won't suck them back out of there. So that's one of the other things we don't do that. So that's what we did. Okay. Next question.
Are you seeing any differences in the different varieties of pecans you have with respect to drought and then that rebound the following year?
Yeah.
Year, 2 year?
Some years, some pecans we have grafted every year. Just they got a decent crop every year. And I've got some varieties that have a really crappy crop about every year, and those trees are getting out. Trees last year, like the Pawnee variety last year, absolutely didn't have a nut on them. This year I got a pretty nice crop on them. Some other varieties, Colby, last year had a big crop. This year there's not very many on them. Shepherd, which has had a really good nut crop. My dad bought a tree. Did you know you could buy a tree? We bought a tree years ago over in Brunswick in the bottom. And I'll get back to the story, but anyway, we bought the tree for Signwood. It was a really nice tree, and we went up there and dehorned the damn thing. And then dehorned is we just cut every limb off about this size. And you talk about growing Signwood, grafting wood, it just, you know, great grafting wood too, man. You know, it's really good stuff. Took all that stuff off, and we own the tree. Still own it over there, believe it or not. It's recorded in the county recorder's office that we bought a tree. You know, so anyway. That tree has had nuts on it for the past 4 years. Great crop. This year, almost nothing. So it varies, I think, on how they can store the nutrients in the roots. Don't know it for sure, but think well. Yes?
How do you manage squirrels, deer, all the things in the world that want to get into the business?
One thing with squirrels is that we keep the orchard mowed like a lawn, and a young tree, so we don't have any place for them to really nest unless they want to build a nest.
So getting up the tree and picking the pecans before they fall, you do the,
No, we shake them and stuff, but the squirrels really don't give us a problem because they don't like running across that bare ground, you might say, and they don't have a hole they can crawl into a tree. And you'd be surprised at the hawks, at what a hawk will do to a squirrel. They'll really take them out pretty good. Of course, deer, they'll eat the damn things. Coons eat the damn things. My worst is crows. I'll lose 1,000 pounds a day to crows. Matter of fact, U.S. Fish and Wildlife gives me permit year-round to shoot crows on the farm. Anybody want to come out crow hunting? Welcome. Come. I got a guy killed 172 last year on the farm. Kept my crows down. West Nile virus. I love West Nile virus. Yes. But now they're getting back in now, oh, yeah, that's so funny. We had big go-arounds before with the Missouri Conservation Department because they swarmed down. I couldn't shoot crows. It's season. It doesn't start till November 1st and all this kind of stuff. And I said, hey, babe, I'll show you here. Call U.S. Fish and Wildlife. But, yeah, well, he can do whatever he wants to a damn crow. We don't care because the only thing we got a season on crows for is because they're the national bird of Mexico. Go figure. And they got some kind of deal worked out years ago. Crows were getting down. Population said, all right, we'll put a crow season on to make Mexico happy so they keep sending more people up to work or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's why there was a season on crows. U.S. Fish and Wildlife because care less about a damn crow. So, yes?
Are you still doing multi-cropping, or are your main crop is still only from the pecan releases?
The 180 acres and stuff is strictly grass. And like I said, we took hay off of it this year. But it's really, no, it's done. It's a matured agroforestry is what I want to call matured agroforestry. My 3 other orchards I have, like I say, one of them is a tree CRP, so there's nothing to do to it. The other 2 orchards we have, which are about 50 acres of those, of 2, we're cutting hay off between those. That's bluegrass hay stuff. I don't want to farm. My renter can't farm a 40-foot distance. I mean, his smallest planter is 60 foot wide. His sprayer booms are 120 feet. I mean, number 3 thing is that if it's beans, it's Roundup ready. Roundup and pecans, especially young pecans, don't work. It's deadly on them. It really is. Even spraying around them, I didn't believe it. We're around back using paraquat now around the young trees. Glamoxone now. I can't say paraquat. I got to say glamoxone. That's the problem with that. It really scares me now with the new chemicals coming on because they're coming out with new beans now. We'll be out next year, I think, with 2,4-D resistant beans. And 2,4-D in pecan trees is deadly. I mean, they're talking about people spraying 2,4-D a half mile away and taking all the nuts and leaves off trees a half mile away. So, on some drift. So, get things just right. So, I'm scared. I'm scared. I really am. So.
Does Missouri have like a registry for crops like you to keep them away from spraying that, or a distance or a buffer or something?
They do? I don't know.
It's good if you put bees out there.
That's true.
Yeah. But 2,4-D, is not a bee insecticide though, really, is it? It's not. It's a herbicide, not insecticide.
Yeah, technically, if you're registered, they should contact you. You have to contact.
Okay. Yeah. But here I am shooting Mustang and Warrior and 7 up in my trees to take care of walnut caterpillar, stink bugs, pecan weevil. If you got one old sow, she don't get sick, and the pigs don't get sick. You don't have any problem with them, in the lot. You got 1,000 sows, you got a lot of problem. Same with an orchard. You got 1 or 2 trees in your yard, you don't have much trouble. Don't really care. You got 1,000 or 10,000 trees in an orchard, you get a lot of insect damage and stuff. And when I'm selling retail, the little black spot on that pecan nut meat from stink bug. You know how much trouble, how much labor it is to pull all those off the inspection line? Extremely bad. Pecan weevil, you put a pecan weevil in a bag of pecans, in our blown pecans, to a young housewife. Holy smokes, you never heard the phone ring so bad. Your pecans are wormy. I don't care if one worm I can't let one worm go through there. A number of years ago, late spray, 10 caterpillars came in. Didn't hurt anything. A few of them, no big deal. Not worth the time to go out and spray. Get the, you know, it takes me 17 and a half hours to spray the orchard. I do it at night. I do all the spraying. It's the only thing I drive. The only tractor I drive is a sprayer. I drive a spray tractor. That, I had, the store was open and I probably had, in one day, I had 4 people come in and said, I see you got bagworms. So, well, they're tent caterpillars, they're not bagworms. Oh, they'll kill those trees. All right. Tonight I'm going to go start spraying. I'm going to get rid of them because if not, everybody thinks it's that and the other. In 2007, we had an Easter freeze. In 2007, there was not enough pecans to fill a hat on 200 acres. And I was lucky. I had a hat full of pecans. Nobody that I know of had a hat full of pecans anywhere in all of the area, over Brunswick area. I said, well, there's no sense to really get the orchard looking like a park to harvest. There's nothing to harvest, right? Takes us 5 days to mow the orchard, 2 tractors at 150 horsepower each running down through there. You think they don't use a lot of fuel, a lot of hours, man, labor stuff? Shoot, man, we got this made. I'm going to save some money this year. I'm not going to mow the orchard. We had some pecan carryover, though, kept the store open. People come in and says, y'all quitting the pecan business? So what do you mean? Well, you ain't got your orchard all mowed up very nice. I said, well, there's no nuts to harvest. Oh, so you're getting out of the pecan business? No. Well, after about the 4th or 5th one that day, you know, hey guys, hey, come on. Hey, let's hook on the mowers, get the tractors out, let's go. Let's spend a week mowing orchards, because you got to, you know, because I'm highly visible on a farm, so okay. Any other questions real quick? Yeah?
Just verify real quick, year you established that 100 acres?
Pardon?
80 acres, year you established that? Like
About 81 first, yeah. Planted the nuts. Planting the nuts is a lot easier than planting a damn tree. I got some little trees out there started this, that, and the other. But a nut, you can plant him in a drought and he'll still live. You plant a tree in a drought and you got to water. You plant a nut, you don't have to worry about him. He'll come up and grow. You'll put a taproot down about this far this first year. You know, be a little spindly old thing. But then after a few years, the taproot rots off and he gets us leaders, support leaders out and away he goes, so whatever.
You said you got 17 years of, approximately 17 years of annual crops before crown canopy.
I should have probably stopped at 15, but I kept pushing it. That and the other.
Have you tried English walnuts at all?
I got some carpet painting, yeah, and around the house and stuff. They're really cold hardy damage. I mean, the coldness out there at Clifton Hill gets extremely cold. I'll be 10, 12 degrees colder than what they will in Moberly, just 7 miles away. Because when it gets cold, I'm in a frost pocket. When it gets cold, you know, but when it gets, I think the closest I had was 32 below zero out there back in the early 80s. Early 80s. And, you know, it killed every Carpathian walnut I had. They sprouted right back up in the root system. But, you know, you take that coldness and stuff, and it pretty well gets down to 20 below out in my place about every year. That's the problem I live in. I live in a bad spot. It's in the middle of nowhere, which is really beautiful, this, that, and the other. So anyway. Quick thing to let you know what we're going to see tomorrow afternoon. I guess we're going to meet up on top of the hill at the orchard. We'll take a quick look at the orchard. Some of those, I'll show you some of the stuff, how we grafted them, some of the trees, some of the different varieties and stuff. If you want to see that, I'll show you kind of what we're doing, the spacing on how that worked and stuff. Some of them are just in line. Some of them are checked on the hill and stuff. I can show you the heart nuts up there that are all dead. I can show you my beautiful sunflower seeds are this big. It's going to bring the dove in like you won't believe, and that sort of deal. Then we're going to go back to the house. We'll look at the harvesting equipment if you want to see that. We'll look at the cleaning equipment as we bring them in from the field after the harvesters to clean, and the Lucy belt and all that. Then from there we'll go back behind the store where we do all the process, where we wash them and sanitize them and size them and crack them and bag them and do all that. So that should be tomorrow. You look at all the equipment we got, whatever the doors are open. Y'all look wherever you want to. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. So welcome to take a look. Yeah.
Quick question. You want us to have closed-toed shoes on your farm?
Pardon?
You care if you wear sandals or closed-toed shoes you need on your farm?
I don't care. Whatever you want to wear. Just that you're going to be walking in through some grass out in the orchard and stuff, and you know.
Well,
You can go barefoot. I could care less.
You know, we may or may not get some rainfall, so, you know,
Hey, let me tell you something.
mindful.
I have not had a rain since June 23rd. Now, everybody else has had rains. I mean, a mile from me has had 2-inch rains, 3-inch rains, 1-inch rains. I have not got a damn rain since June 23rd, except maybe a 10th here and a 10th there. Doesn't even get you wet. Doesn't even settle the dust. So what do you think the chances of it raining tomorrow? Pretty damn good. I hope so. You don't realize what that's going to do to a pecan crop, a bean crop, and a corn crop, everything else. So I hope we have to run between the buildings and stuff at home tomorrow. Bring a rain. If you got an umbrella, bring it. If not, don't worry about it. We can man you around. It's not that big a deal. So.
They don't have access to a credit card for any sales tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow, if you want to buy some nuts, you got to bring cash or check. We can't do credit cards because they charge us like $20 a month, and when we're not doing any business, we shut the bank off. Said you ain't getting my money, you know. So the credit card machine's deactivated, but I do take cash, and I do take checks, and IOUs. If you want to send me a check or something, I'll trust you.
Let's thank Dan. We'll see him tomorrow.